Okay, configuring proper IP address on the interface. Now, configuring proper IP address on the interface. First of all, we will learn how to configure IP address on the interfaces. Then we will learn how to configure proper IP address on the interface. Okay. If you configure the wrong IP address, then that's a problem. So how to configure IP address on a computer? Let's come here. Desktop, IP configuration. There are two options. One is DHCP and static. So if you put DHCP, you cannot configure the IP address because they will get an IP address from a DHCP server. Click static and put the IP address 192.168.1.1 and put the subnet mask. If you have a router, you'll put the default gateway. Only if you have a router, you put the default gateway. DNS server is, if you have a DNS server, you put the DNS server's IP address. Now, in the same way, if you come here, desktop, the same, static, 192.168.1.2. Same, if you have a router, we do not have a router, we do not have a DNS server, so we didn't configure that. Now, let us try to understand a few things here. Sorry. If you look at this IP address and if you look at this IP address, they are in the same network, but they are different IP addresses. So if you configure something like 192.168.1.1/24, it would have been a wrong IP address. Why? Because you cannot have you cannot have the same IP addresses on both devices at the same time in the same network. Okay, so imagine in that case, a family has got two child, like they have got two children, and they have the same name. Okay, so it doesn't make sense. Okay, so this could be a mistake, so make sure. If you want to put them in the same network, you need to put the same network and the host number will be different. However, if there are different VLANs, then you need to make sure that they are in different networks. Okay, I'm not teaching here VLANs, so that is not going to happen. Now look at here very carefully. How to configure IP address on a switch. Usually this is a layer 2 switch. A layer 2 switch does not understand the IP address. However, if you want to configure IP address on this switch for management purpose, so that this computer can remotely connect to the switch and configure the switch, you configure IP address not on a port, on a VLAN interface. So how to configure IP address on the switch VLAN interface? This is mostly to remotely connect to the switch. Okay, so you come here, CLI. In order to configure the IP address, you need to go to the global configuration mode. Enable, then configure, terminal. Now we are in the global configuration mode. So you put here interface VLAN 1, then you put IP address. Okay, let's say 192.168.1.5, then 255.255.255.0, then no shutdown. The VLAN interface not in shutdown state. It is already up and running. However, to be secure, I put there no shutdown. Okay, so if I put here the command, it will be interface VLAN 1 IP address 192.168.1.5 subnet mask 255.255.255.0, no shut down. Okay, now look at here very carefully. If you want to configure the IP address, a few things that you need to find out first. Sorry. Where you want to configure the IP address? On this port. So you need to go to this port and you need to configure the IP address. Where is the IP address for this port? I haven't written here. See, I haven't written the IP address. So I need to put the IP addresses. You need to go to this port and you need to configure the IP address. For here, you need to go to this port and configure the IP address. So let me put some IP addresses here. 1.1.1.1.1/8, and here 1.1.1.2/8. Okay, now come here, go to the CLI mode, no, enable configure terminal. Now look at here, interface fast Ethernet 1/0. Be careful, okay? Be careful with the number because you don't end up configuring something wrong. So it will be 192. IP address 192.168.1.255.255.255.0, no shutdown. Okay, that's it. Now interface fast Ethernet 0/0. So I will just look at here very carefully. If I copy this one, interface fast Ethernet 0/0. So if you look at here, interface fast Ethernet 0/1.1.1.8. So it will be 1.1.1.1/255.0.0.0/8 is 255.0/0. Just copy this one. Okay, and paste this one. So if you look at here, an IP address has been configured here. Now I will show you another way to configure it in a shortcut way, but this is not acceptable in many cases. You can come here, config. For example, if you want to configure fast Ethernet 1/0, come here, put here 1/0 is 172.16.0.1, and you need to make sure you need to check this box. This is no shutdown. Now same way, come to fast Ethernet 0/0, 1.1.1.2. Make sure you check this box. Okay, now you see most of the things are green now. Now very important, okay, so a few things that we need to learn how to put the IP address together actually. So first of all, just remember a switch cannot have IP address. The only time the switch can have an IP address is on the VLAN interface. This is the first thing. Okay, now the second thing is, if you have a router and it has multiple interfaces, interface fast Ethernet 0/, let's say 0/0, fast Ethernet 0/1. they need to be in different networks, network 1 and network 2. So if you look at here, this IP address is for this interface, and just remember this one, they need to be in different networks, because I will draw a new one. So if you look at here, this IP address is in this interface and this IP address is in the interface. So they are completely different networks, okay? They are completely different networks. Now look at here very carefully. If you have two routers connected together, this is through a serial cable, let's say, or whatever cable, doesn't matter. The connection, so imagine if he speaks to him and if he speaks to him, they need to have same, like they need to speak the same language. That means when they do the connection have to be, for the routers, the connection have to be in the same network. So if he is network 2, he has to be network 2. If he is network 3, he has to be network 3. So if you look at here, this IP address and this IP address, they are in the same network, so network 2. Now look at here very carefully. Arguably you can say this is network 2, I can again bring back here network 1. That's right, no problem. But the only problem is, if you bring here network 1, you will have some IP address like 192.168.1 dot something, right, /24. The problem is, whenever you want to send a packet from here to here, your source is 192.168.1 dot something, your destination is also 192.168.1 dot something. So actually, instead of packet traveling this way, the packet will come back to him, because it's the same address. So your packet will get confused. Your packet will, like, think like this way. At your office, you want to send a message to someone. At your office, you want to send a message to someone, through someone, okay? However, the problem is, if your name is, let's say, John, and if you say I have a message for John, okay, that means he might get confused. He might think this message is for this John, for you, okay? So you need to have something unique, okay? So if it is John, you need to say John from IT, okay? You are from accounting department. So now he knows. So in this way, the IP address, they need to be in different networks, okay? Otherwise it will be a problem for routing the traffic. Now look at here very carefully. Since we want to route the traffic from here to here, this is already N1, we cannot put N1 here. So we cannot put N2 because it is used here. So we'll put here N3. We'll put here N3. In this way, the routers are going to have different networks. The interfaces are going to have different networks. Now if you have question, I have another interface here. So you put another network. Okay, you cannot put N2 and you cannot put N3, because they both are already connected. And try to look at here very carefully. These computers, they will be in the same network as the router's interface where they are connected. Now they can be in a different networks if you have multiple VLANs. But that's, if you bring multiple VLANs, the things are going to be changed anyway. Otherwise, they have to be in the same network.